Yo, hey there. Happy New Year, Merry New Easter, you know all that. Come in, come in. Let me tell you what I've been up to. After I posted my first video, I retracted like a hermit into a cave with the same speed that I used to run from responsibility. Unluckily for me, my favorite pastimes were disrupted whenever college project due dates reared their ugly head. Even so, from the depths of my despair, I had a single gentle light shining down on me. It was the light of my phone screen, indicating that the state of games online is ever deteriorating. Apparently, gaming was not fun anymore twice in the span of 1 week. Hell, twice in the span of 3 to 4 days. Now that is something that I won't just believe right away.
I just move shit with my mind.
Perhaps our connection has somehow awoken some abilities.
I just moved shit with my mind.
I just keep hearing I.
I just move shit with my freaking mind!
Well, would you look at that? It is horrible. Now, in all seriousness, when the waters get this muddy, gaming isn't truly over. For most of us, that means going back to our favorite comfort games. And that's great. That means there's always that one game in your never-ending library that brings you joy no matter your orientation. But while I wasted my time browsing around the internet, I also discovered a most peculiar phenomenon. Something that to some degree resonates with me. Those particular games had such an impact on their player base that they wish they could experience them again. And not just to replay them, but play them with no prior knowledge as if they were doing it the first time. I still have fond memories during my childhood, whenever I would sit around in front of the computer for hours on end, either playing Stronghold Crusader and then Age of Empires. While it's true that such an impression can be caused by a great number of factors, such as raw gameplay, mechanics, atmosphere, graphics, whatever it is that you wish for, even I am swayed by the most correct of them all, which is story. And such new riveting lines such as,
Yeah, no, it's definitely that verse.
No, this is batshit bananas!
or the famous,
I don't even have time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
make me want to focus myself on the indie game scene even more. Whilst the story area of big games seems to be left behind, you are excused. I believe that games have the unique ability to tell stories which suit the narrative of the player, making them even more impactful. We act out our role and are rewarded with an experience that could never be beaten by a movie. I want to showcase such a story with you, one that is very dear to me, and one that I didn't think I'd revisit, the story of Pyre. But first, a bit of background. The game was made by Supergiant. For anyone that's been living under a rock in the past year or so, especially now since a trailer for Hades 2 has emerged from the primordial ooze of creation, Supergiant hit it big with the release of the original Hades. At least, that's what I think. I don't know what kind of a reception they were expecting. So while everyone has run through Tartarus until complete brain rot settled in, me included, making every shade of the underworld rethink the meaning of their existence, I don't think there were that many people willing to go out and try older Supergiant projects. And I get why. The polish, speed, and visceral feeling of the combat in Hades, coupled with great art and music, kept all of the weak-minded people like me in check. It really helps fire up that neuron. It's pretty much keeping it on life support right now. Among this bountiful well of content, it's not a wonder that its older, more distant brother might have been left behind through no fault of its own. And I'm here to rectify that. Woo! Yeah! Now, for the most obvious warning ever, I love this game, so I strongly advise you to play it. This is also because I'm going to include spoilers of the story of the game. Originally, I didn't want to go into excruciating detail, otherwise we'd be here all day. But soon I realized I'd really enjoy being the boss in a hostage situation. As you might have deduced from my drivel, Pyre is a game that is strongly developed around its lore and story. So much so that the first true round of the game lasts around 3 to 4 hours depending on your performance. This is high praise, as I usually don't last that long. Now it's time for the story I've been hyping up. In this universe, the world's vision has been shaped by the scribes. They are either gods or demigods themselves, anointed to legends by the passage of time. In a time of chaos and madness, they braved against the titanic beings that roamed the land. Beings whose corpses still make up gorgeous vistas along the landscape, influencing it with their enormous powers. The scribes, one of each race and background, produced a set of ideals and values to unite the people of the lands. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of years later, after the scribes' appearance, the empire known as the Commonwealth still stands. Their values twisted by the corruption of the people in power. As such, books are forbidden, and generations passing the deeds and values of the scribes by word of mouth have turned them from certainty to legend. In such a world, there is profit and comfort to be made by skirting the rules as much as possible and greasing the right hands. And while judgment is supposed to be imparted by an omniscient, incorruptible, and impartial being, even its conscience begins to sway during your playthrough. Given the nature of the Commonwealth, you would not expect, however, to see all of the races of the world trying to do their best in this ravaged melting pot. And yet they struggle to remain in such a place, lest they be cast into exile. The story follows you as the main character, one of the most despicable of criminals, a reader. Cast down from the heavens with the same judgment that everyone had faced, because of your love for knowledge, you are sentenced as an exile to an eternity in purgatory. No, not Tartarus, but Zeus have mercy. There, in the purgatory known as the land of There, in the purgatory known as the downside, you are forced... land of suck. There, in the purgatory known as the downside, you are found as a downtrodden, broken husk of a man, barely at the edge of death, lying in the middle of a dry wasteland. Some strangers find you and save you with what little they have, and there the story begins as you get attached to them, meet more of them, and grow to love each and every one of them.
All are not the same, but three shall be as one. Freedom in flame, the end has just begun. Strands may break alone, but twisted make a braid. Together on their own, the journey shall be made.
See, this is one of the many things that Pyre's story does right. It completely, unexpectedly, and non-consensually flips the narrative on its head. As the reader with no prior knowledge of the world and all of its intricate systems, I was tossed into the middle of the downside, a place filled with criminals. But then, as I interacted with them, I realized these scum of the earth backwoods savages are some of the most human characters I've met in games. Sure, they are quirky in their own video game way, and they each have at least one distinct trait, which is not that common for everyday people. That being said, they are genuine, and very much as real as anyone else. All of you are driven by your sense of justice and wish of redemption. The wish to see your loved ones once again and prove everyone that you have goodness in your hearts. As the main character, you are instrumental to such a development, because the role of the reader is to mediate between the members of the team. The reader is supposed to take everything in, to uncover the downside in all of its spiteful splendor, and to unravel the mystery of the rites.
Reader, dare you tamper with forbidden knowledge? So soon after your sentence into exile. 'Tis true what the book says. You can be free again. Perhaps not you yourself, but someone worthy of the privilege. You witness now the path toward salvation. You witness the rights, the one way to return to glory. Though in your case, I hardly think it possible. Yet, by the grace of the scribes, it is my duty to inform you anyhow.
The rides are very much like any other game in the real world that uses balls. It is essentially the magical Space Jam Jamboree. However, what differentiates this game from all other ball games is that all the characters are playing red light, green light. It requires a different level of coordination that no other game has ever requested of its players, mainly because it's a completely alien concept. Only the one carrying the ball can move, whilst the others are supposed to stand completely still. This encourages all sorts of different plays that rely heavily on passing the ball around. The auras around the characters banish their enemies on contact, meaning that a perfectly reliable strategy is to give the orb to the enemy as you are about to run into them. Walk, sprint, jump, flip, fly, dive, and teleport to reach your enemy's Pyre at all costs. Dousing the Pyre yourself removes the character from the game for the next round, so you have to pay attention and plan carefully according to your own playstyle. Additionally, there is a soft RPG and leveling system attached to each one of the characters. I don't feel like I need to explain any of it, as it is very easy to grasp and not necessary to the development of the story. You can very well beat the game without buffing your characters up. The Pyres are very much the representation of the will to win of either side, while the auras of the players are the physical representation of their sins. The one that holds the orb of absolution, so to speak, has no aura of his own, as in that moment he is absolved of all his sins. And so within the first match you go through, the purpose of the rites is instantly apparent: to absolve you and everyone you know of your sins and make it back to the Commonwealth. The rites were as such created by the scribes after they felled the last titan. They gave away their freedom so that others may have it. However, your enemies will not relent, for all of them have their own reasons to get back. Everyone is fighting for that freedom equally. This is where the brilliance of this game's story starts shining through even more brightly. The overall dramatic display first develops through its characters. The main cast of characters that you control comes from all walks of life. In this land of magic, there is also mistrust between races and characters, just like in the books of my childhood. While it is true that you can feel the mistrust in the beginning as you meet each and every one of them, that layer of ice begins to melt and reveal all of them for who they truly are. After all, they are in their own way caring individuals. The bonds that they created through hardship extend to you just as to either of them. They get introduced to you as you travel the colorful downside. Hedwyn is the glue of the group, a caring individual that does not shy away from danger and would not hesitate to sacrifice himself in order to save his friends. He truly values the people with which he shares a bond. As such, he brings everyone around him together with his sincere and tempered attitude. Jodariel is the eldest of the group. She had to suffer the adverse effects of living in the downside for probably even centuries. Whilst she has an imposing nature and is quick to anger, she is very much the protector of the group, keeping watch over everybody. In her own way, she seems to be a bit of a more rough, motherly figure. Rookie is a whimsical character that loves his family and his mother dearly. He was also exiled for smuggling goods since he needed the money to take care of her. He also carries the most exquisite mustache I've ever seen, and I'm willing to fight anyone who disagrees. We shall settle on a location if needed. These are only the original trio that saved the player, and I could go on about every one of them. You know what? I think we've got time, and so I will. When you get to the Sea of Dominion, you meet Sir Gilman. Sir Gilman used to be a knight in service of the Commonwealth and survived combat on the battlefield. He is a funny, brave and knightly character that struggled with his insecurities for quite a long time, though camaraderie helped him face his fears. Now he seems to have regained his honor that he holds dear. Now, just like me, he is not afraid to eat the last slice of pizza. Pamitha, while initially a cold and distant person, dreams of regaining her sister's trust by proving her worth and stealing her resolve. It is a good thing that she brought the bottle of infinite moonshine with her then. Tizo is so cute, just look at him, he needs no further introduction. Vagabond, or as I like to call her, Bay, is a mystical person with a capacity for magic and visions. Her, unlike everyone else in the group, is born in the downside. Does she deserve to be exiled? Simply by the nature of her being? Bertrude is very much a reclusive danger noodle, but they can't deny that wisdom does come with age. And finally, Wolfred is the self-proclaimed original leader of the group. He is patient, cunning, and will use his intelligence to get what he wants. A man with a plan that you shall have to play the game to find out about. I'm not revealing the crux of the ending. Their interactions and frictions are what truly makes the essence and liveliness of the group come out to play. What gives the player a sense of belonging. If I may even say, a sense of family. There are a lot of notable enemies around here as well, but for the sake of monotony, I won't detail each and every one of them. There are, however, a few outliers. For example, Delbert Oldheart has participated in the rites for most of his life, and, much like a loving parent, he secretly hopes that he might one day earn a place back amongst the stars for his only son. Our resolute group called the Nightwings is bound to face each and every one of them as time passes, because it is an inevitability. You, as the player, are supposed and intended to fight them. But, just as the mechanics of the game make it be, so are the Nightwings the chosen group of the scribes. Without their existence, there would be no rites and no absolution at all. However, the other groups persisted in their training and hoped that one day the Nightwings might return to put the rites in motion. This brings us closer to the end because the Nightwings existed long before the inception of our group. And here comes the greatest, most memorable foe, Orlac. Betrayed by his old teammates in the old Nightwings, he was cast aside for the benefit of another, just as he was about to ascend back amongst the stars. He was very much a beacon of hope for his team, bringing them together in very much the same way the Reader and Headwind did. Now, one of the eldest demons in the downside, his kind and gentle heart had grown twisted with anger. He was worthy of leaving the downside as he had fought in the rites over and over. After promptly pummeling me and my team into the ground, it was clear that something was wrong. And this is when the idea began to solidify in my head. Am I truly worthy? I mean, of course, I am the one out here playing the game. But is my character, my persona, worthy of standing side by side with my team? And even more importantly, who am I to decide who gets absolution? I've seen the resolve of all the characters around me. I've seen what they had to go through. However, I was just the reader, faceless and anonymous, with no real reason to win other than to beat the game to see this exuberant art piece to the end. That's when the concept clicked in my mind. The scribes very much expect the player to be the one to play in the rites of absolution. So much so that losing does not impact progress. And yet I would restart again and again and again, focused to win, wishing for the prize at the end. I took everything my enemies had, all the dreams they scrounged up, and shattered them, so that the ones I cared about could go free and have their dreams come true. And at the end I finally did it. I broke the promise that I, as the reader, made in the beginning, one that I kept hidden away from me. That one day, Jodariel, Hedwin, Rookie and me will see each other once again in the Commonwealth, and decided it is okay to lose and let Orlac fulfill his dream of seeing the world that he fought for so desperately for all of those years. Then I pushed him into that beam of light before it came to a close, and so the rites were no more. The whole of the story and gameplay is built in mind with the idea that you love and respect your characters enough to let them go, even if you became attached to them. It's the idea that you can hold dear their goals and happiness more than their company, more than their gameplay style that you became accustomed to. Every choice that you make along the way is tailored to your specific tale. Every mistake, every friend that you didn't get to free, every enemy that you forgave, they all weigh upon your shoulders. In the pursuit of a genuine experience, the restart button became one of my fiercest enemies. As such, I had decided that the way to truly appreciate such a meaningful and tailored experience that is unique for each player is to play the game only once. Had the true Nightwing difficulty been unlocked from the start, I should have played on that level so that no save scumming was possible. Compared to modern gaming, where everyone wants to farm every achievement ever, I am content with not completing the game. But you see, going back to experience all that the game had to offer in the pursuit of footage, I realized something. This game had become a cherished piece of my memory, enough that I would be content to revisit it every once in a while. After all, re-analyzing and re-experiencing the game would probably make the developers happy, that you want to re-engage with their content. My wish was misaligned. I didn't really want to stop playing the game, I just wanted to experience it in the same way I did the first time. The experience of doing everything with no prior knowledge gives my choices the most impact. This is something that I, and I'm sure a lot of other gamers, wish for, to be able to relive the wonder of that original moment that lives on in your memory. And nowadays, that wish is surely amplified by the lukewarm mishmash that the AAA industry churns out. Again, you are an exception, because that 5 out of 10 mid-garbage would never emulate our original experience ever again. I could always keep going about how good the art of this game is. It is clear that it is the predecessor of Hades because it looks absolutely amazing. Not only that, but revisiting it made me realize how similar the movement and abilities feel. And above all, the style is king. I'm no professional art critic, nor a good artist, but I can already tell how much love everyone put into the style of this game. And, much like that piece of gum that is stuck to your shoe, it will stick to your memory indefinitely. The colors mesh really well, and give it that painterly look which is so hard to get right. I have a hard time distinguishing 2D from 3D at this point, just because it gets so immersive. The music doesn't even come into question. I think at least a couple of tracks, if not all of them, are nothing short of masterpiece level works. Not to mention, but at some point you could get the game's tracks on vinyl discs. I'm not sure if that is possible anymore, but as soon as the harvest is ready, I'm going to purchase a copy. I don't have much else to say about the music. I was the kid that would lip sync during the music class. And with all of that being said, I want to give this game a final score of 8 drive imps powering a carry. Thank you for taking the time of your day or night